Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooter's gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I won, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one.
Good morning, brother. I don't know if you guys seen the RNC and Trump's speech, but before Trump's, it was like 2 or 3 people before Trump the Hulkster got up and talked, dude, and he said, brother, so many fucking times. Actually, I call every dude that I have like a good, hold on, let me fix my camera. I've got like a good connection with, and then I feel like is a brother. I've been doing that since the military, right? The military people call each other brother usually. But I didn't really even know it was a Hulk thing, but that fucking dude, I think he let out like 17 brothers in that speech. Oh, it was out of control, bro. Out of control. I think I need to do a couple things here, so just give me a sec. That and this. Yeah. There we go. Let's straighten this out a little bit. Here we go. Lights, camera, action. Hope you guys are great. A couple things to talk about as we get people filtered into the room. Yeah, number one, look, I have had not just super physiologic, but above 2,000 nanograms per deciliter testosterone for a few weeks now. You know, it's been intermittent between, initially it was cream and prop. Then it was just prop, and you know, I don't even have a protocol right now. I'm kind of in between. You know, I'm just running tests because I need tests, and I usually just function well on everything, so long as my ratios are correct. So it doesn't really matter to me. So I'm kind of just, you know, fussing with stuff that I haven't tried and whatever. But anyway, having test levels above 2,000, you know, for it's probably been 3.5 weeks or something, I can only really report positive benefits. Strength, obviously, I'm fuller, you know, I'm kind of eating more now, so I'm not as lean. My cardio running is a lot better, which is interesting. I just don't kind of bonk out. You know, I've also been taking some sodium chloride tablets, which is also very useful. It's like people have to take telmisartan and other things to lower their blood pressure. Well, just run. I'd be hard pressed to see my BP over 110 over 75, honestly. Yeah, honestly. It just doesn't fucking get high, and it's kind of great. But yeah, generally speaking, everything, you know, I haven't had any panic attacks. I haven't felt, you know, any energy that was not tolerable at, you know, between 2,000 and 3,000 nanograms per deciliter. It's just been honestly fine. The one thing I will say that I noticed, especially on peak days of prop, you know, I've played with a couple things, but mainly 70 milligrams every other day or 100 milligrams every third day, is that my ratio gets a little skewed because my test goes too high. Yeah, the test goes too high for the estrogen. And on prop, you aromatize less. You have a lot less estrogen sort of sticking around. Whereas with longer esters, you're just kind of aromatizing pretty consistently. And so, yeah, that was an odd thing, that the libido stuff sort of started to go a little bit by the wayside. Still fine. When my ratio got a little fucking skewed, I ran estradiol, and it was actually high in the 50s, but, you know, I think the test was entirely too high for that. Estradiol added a little more HCG, and then problem solved. So it's been interesting. Earlier this week, I had to travel for a couple of days. I thought I was going to be gone for 4 or 5 days, and I didn't want to bring prop and shit, so I had to pin a milliliter a sip. So I just fucking a mill a sip, and that's it. So I can't pin for a while moving forward. It's looking like, you know, this coming Monday or whatever, but I honestly feel no different. I feel great. I feel fine, and everything's like pretty good. So last thing I wanted to mention before, you know, we get into some questions here is, look, DHEA is such an underrated compound for people on testosterone. There are a lot of mechanisms by which it increases genital sensation, one of which is like co-activation of or co-location with dopamine receptors. Forget the mechanism, but there's a strong interplay with dopamine receptors and dopamine in general. I think it's in the medial preoptic hypothalamus, which is like pretty libido centric, but also like sensation is controlled by the nerves, the dorsal nerve, the pudendal nerve at the actual junk location, but also there's central mechanisms like oxytocin and dopamine that really matter. Okay, if you increase serotonin significantly, you'll lose sensation to an extent. If you lower dopamine significantly, you'll also lose sensation to an extent. Okay, so just something to think about. You know, DHEA has been restorative in sensation for my clients on TRT when, you know, they just didn't want to take HCG because it gave them side effects or over aromatized or whatever. So just one of those things, brother. Anything else? No, I think that's it. Let's get into questions. Where's my browser? Boom. Okay, so androgenic cap starts it off. Morning, broski. Good morning. Broseph. Can Proviron be prescribed in the USA? Yeah, so no, Proviron is not prescribable in the USA, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, this is, me and Ryan Root talked about this on our podcast last week or whenever that was, where it's just a fucking problem. That and Primo, because for people that are very sensitive to high estrogen, that get side effects and they can tolerate lower estrogen and the libido and stuff is still good. It's where they need to be sitting. These drugs would be very useful. I mean, Proviron is fucking incredible for managing the genetic expression of estrogen, basically lowering it and then lowering the actual serum number to a degree. It's not significant. It's not like an AI at all. So is Primo, Masteron too. So it really does suck that they're not prescribable here in the States. They're just not FDA approved to be used here in the States. But they're very well studied, all of them, including Proviron. So it's kind of a tragedy. Unfortunately, I've had to go just to, we'll call it a source for what is pharmaceutical grade Masterolone. So I'm getting the real shit. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather just talk to my clinic, Defy, and go, I'd like to try some Proviron to control E2. And they would do it in a heartbeat. They prescribed me oxandrolone for this, for somewhat of this similar reason. I haven't used it yet, but there's that. So yeah, it's not prescribable here and it's a giant pain in the ass. So, I mean, it's like, if you need it, you're going to have to get it either way. There are plenty of places to get it, but what sucks about the fact that it's very useful and it's not being able to be prescribed here is that people have to go source it, from elsewhere. So yeah, I mean, that's that, if you got good sources, you're good, but that's not always the safest bet. It just fucking sucks. People have to do that. All right. Physique 11 is asking, can Primo and Masteron use the TRT dosage test 150 a week for months or years if blood work looks good? Let's say 150, 100 Primo. 150 tests, 150 or 100 milligrams Primo a week is fine. If it look, the thing that typically happens is your lipids get a little skewed, right? And so, but these days it's actually unclear how the degree to which the LDL and HDL readings, I don't want to say matter, but are heavily influential versus like the particle size. Yeah. So there's that. At the same time, like there have been studies where, what was it? Like people's HDL, they like forced people's HDL to go very high. And there's a couple people that actually died in that fucking study. People that died in that study from having, what we think of as good, having high HDL. Okay. So I think that like, we don't have definitive answers yet. The understanding of lipids relative to health and cardiac function is not set in stone. There's been too much challenging of traditional ideas for us to say for sure that, we're set in stone on high LDL and low HDL is a problem. That said, you want to be fucking careful and monitor those bloods. And look, there's a lot of different things that you can be doing to manage bloods, specifically lipids, when you're on, something that might fuss with lipids, like D-limonene. Okay. Nobody in the biohacking community or the fitness community really talks about D-limonene, but I know D-limonene because it's an anti-reflux agent. It's very, very powerful stuff. It's like orange peels synthesized into liquid that you can take in a gel tab. That stuff will radically optimize your lipids if you respond well to it. Okay. So there's a lot of things you can do. Cardiovascular exercise, specifically jogging, will also positively change your lipids. Yeah. I'm curious to see at this point, me being at, for a few weeks now, between 2,000 and 3,000 nanograms per deciliter of total test. 900 was like my highest reading on free test, picograms per milliliter, which is fucking sky high. Curious to see where my lipids are. But I'm also running. I am also taking Tutka. I also run a little bit of D-limonene, and what else am I running that is lipid friendly? Am I blanking on whatever that is? I forget. I think it's GSE maybe. Not sure. But, look, the bottom line with this stuff is you want to be safe. But if you are going to require like Primo or Masteron to, because you're sensitive to estradiol and, the sexual system works best when it's a little lower, like you got to make that choice, you got to make that choice. I would lastly end on Chase Irons is like on, I don't know, 3 grams a test a week or something crazy, maybe 4 grams. I forget where he's at right now. Bodybuilder. You'll see him on Vigorous Steve's channel a lot. And, the guy's shooting for 20,000 nanograms per deciliter total test, and if they've done breakdowns of his bloods and they're great. They're They're pretty great. But he's doing a lot of stuff to manage it. So something to think about. Okay. Is it more effective to USA L-carnitine through IV bag fluid in 1 day or better in daily injection? I don't know. It's a good question, man. I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah. Don't know. I mean, anything intravenous is going to be, well, it'll hit the bloodstream and have its effects sooner and likely more pronounced. But, who knows? I don't know. That might be something to ask Vigorous Steve, because I think he's done a lot of injectable L-carnitine. He may be able to tell you, is IV better? Steve Markowitz, Steve has made, physique has made noticeable gains in the last. My physique? Yeah. I mean, I was very lean for a while, but again, I'm fuller now because I had to pin, because I had to take a fucking trip. I had to pin a mil of test sip. So, I just started getting fuller from that, via it sticking around longer. So, there's that, but, yeah. I mean, also though, for the past 3 weeks, I've had very, very high levels. And by high, I mean 2,000 to 3,000 nanograms per deciliter on the bloods. I ran my labs after, one of these instances of cream plus some prop, and my test was sky high. I don't think I actually have those labs still, do I? No. Oh yeah. No, that was from just cream. I don't think I have them. That was crit. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. So that's 3 pumps of cream and then 70 or 50 milligrams of prop, all at the peak. Yeah. Right now, I don't even know where I am at the moment. I have no idea. I have no clue where the fuck I am. So I had to pin some test sip for a trip. I didn't feel like taking all my shit with me. So 200 milligrams though. So yeah, we'll see. All right. Physique 11. Why does my face blow up on tests, even with E2 in range and a very low body fat? Yeah, 5'11", under 80% body fat. My face looks like 20%. Electrolytes are all in place. Yeah. I mean, the fluid retention from testosterone is also a thing. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. The thing about, okay, so like if you're running a long ester, especially, like I always have more noticeable like water weight, like fullness water weight, and end up ultimately looking less lean on longer esters, right? That's just always been a thing. You can counter that by just being very lean. But look, I mean, steady state estradiol equals steady state arginine vasopressin. Yeah, that's the answer. Yeah, I mean, same thing with testosterone to an extent with arginine vasopressin. I think the action there is much more, it's much more making, I believe, the kidneys responsive to arginine vasopressin. So you therefore retain more water. Yeah, retain more water that way. You would achieve the same thing if you went on low dose test and started taking vasopressin, yeah, which is antidiuretic hormone. So that's really what I think happens is just estradiol has its own mechanisms for fluid retention. It has its own, but one of those another mechanism is the increase in antidiuretic hormone. In fact, one of the substrates for you to make antidiuretic hormone is estradiol. So yeah, that's definitely it. Even if E2 is in range, I was bloated with E2 at 35. You should see pictures of me. Like, I mean, you go back in many videos, like when I was running 210 milligrams of test sip a week, I certainly looked a lot more bloated than I do now. And I that's just kind of one of the things that happens. But the best way you can set that is diet, calories in check, cardio if you can, just staying as lean as possible. If you stay as lean as possible, then you'll offset a good degree of that. But there's some of it that, again, you're not going to be able to avoid. Again, this week I had to travel, so I fucking pinned a mil of test sip because I didn't want to take all my shit with me. And I can already tell I'm like a fuller and whatever. So it's just one of those things, man. All right, Andrew Cap is asking, can COVID enhance PFS? Probably, because COVID can induce a bunch of dysautonomic problems. That's one of the reasons that people have what they think is like stroke-like symptoms with long COVID. It's really just a dysautonomia of the control of blood pressure, and you'll have spikes and drops. You'll have your blood pressure fucking drop out of nowhere. You have postural orthostatic hypotension syndrome, or POTS in those cases. And then the increase in mast cell activation. That's all number of fucked up things, neurologically and otherwise. Go read the mast cell people's experiences on Reddit, and they're terrible. And people with long COVID have excessive mast cell activation as well. So yeah, I think it can mess everything up. COVID can mess everything up. Great to see you too, brother. What protocol would you recommend for someone not on TRT but is doing great gym wise? If you're for what? I mean, if you're doing great gym wise, your test is probably in a reasonable range. And I don't know, maybe growth hormones in a reasonable place. Like I really don't know. Hold on. Not quite right. Maybe that's better. Yeah. Don't know, man. You know, I mean, then it's just about following a good workout routine regardless, and a good protein intake and a good calorie intake regardless. Yeah. You know, making sure that if you want to gain mass, you got to be, you know, in a relative surplus. You know, you can be maintenance in a deficit for other days of the week so that you don't blow up completely. But that'll slow your progress ultimately, but you'll still make some progress. Yeah. I mean, sleeping well, not boozing, not smoking pot, you know, obviously not smoking cigarettes. I think vaping and nicotine, you know, pouches or patches or whatever, those are fine. You know, for this, not going to fuck with your gains or anything. But yeah, that's generally what I would suggest, man. Vibez, ideal TDE ratio. This is a hard one because I actually figured out recently, being at sky high levels of testosterone, that my libido took a hit. Not because estradiol was high, because it was, but estradiol wasn't high enough, you know, for that ratio. You know, ultimately for that ratio. So that's already starting to clear up because I had to run a millisip recently for a trip that I had to take. So I didn't want to bring all my prop and shit with me. So, you know, that's already balancing out and I can feel it. So, you know, I mean, I'll tell you what. So on long esters, like the protocols that worked well for sexual function for me were 70 milligrams every 4th day of sip, intramuscular, just every 4th day, boom, right in the quad. Don't think about it for 4 more fucking days, you know, on the 4th day, another 70 milligrams. That worked really well for pretty much everything. My energy wasn't peak. I started feeling a little shitty toward the end of that. Secondarily, a mil pinned at once. So 200 milligrams at once, you know, that I pinned that Monday because I had to travel and I fucking honestly feel phenomenal. I haven't had to pin since, so it's just whatever. And that, you know, balances out the TDE ratio in a reasonable place for me. But as I said, like with a pretty high dose prop every 3rd day, or even high dose, like 40 milligrams to 50 milligrams of prop every day, or 70 milligrams of prop every other day. In the beginning part of doing that, everything was very good and I'm a walking bone or whatever, but things got a little wacky toward the middle of that, because my estradiol just doesn't go very high on prop. You know, it just doesn't really go high. I might reach at, you know, 2,700 nanograms per deciliter. I might reach 50, 55 picograms per milliliter. You know, whereas if you think about ratios, and specifically the ratio for libido, you know, it would be ideal. I don't like very high estrogen, and I think that's not a good idea, but it would be ideal for me to be at like 80 or something in that case. So it really all depends, man. You know, you definitely don't want the test too high for the estradiol. Your dick might work, but your libido will suffer. Yeah. All right. Vibez, DHEA and E2 are the most important things for me in terms of sensitivity. Interesting. Yeah. I've seen that too, specifically in cases where people will get the great idea to dose some letrozole or something, or God forbid, and then you know, they just lose sensitivity completely. You know, same thing with Arimidex. If the dose is too high and you crash your estrogen, man, or if you just kind of take it lower than you're used to, or lower than your threshold, well, they lose sensitivity. Man, they lose sensitivity. Look, the estrogen receptors, they're in your junk. You have ERB, ERA receptors in your junk, and they respond. Those receptors respond to estradiol and modulate penile function. They do. And so too much is usually inhibitory at the penile base specifically, but the right amount and the right ratio, the ratios really fucking matter more than I thought previously. You know, so that's something. DHEA, yeah, DHEA I've seen time and time again be critical for sensation. I mean, I've run stints of not running HCG, and though there was a degree of sensation loss, it was still pretty fine. And that's because I've always ran DHEA on tests. So yeah, that's kind of, you know, I mean, this isn't surprising to me. This isn't surprising. Look, I know guys that they get better. They get no morning wood, but they're fine for sex with like 20 to 30 estradiol. And their libido's like fine, but they're not craving it all day, like wanting to jerk off in the middle of the fucking day, being interrupted while they're working, that's a libido. I like having that libido. So I know guys down there, but they don't get morning wood. But interestingly, if they just like pin a mill at once of CYP or Renethate or whatever, people are usually running long esters, and they get the estrogen higher, like 60s or so, then they've got morning boners again, which you would think like wouldn't happen, like that'd be the opposite of what would happen based on, you know, people's anecdotals. But I know guys that are like that. So, I mean, I don't know. Everybody's fucking different. Again, at the tissue level, the blood isn't really reflecting what is happening there. So someone could be at 60, but at the tissue level, slightly less, like just less binding. Maybe there's more clearance. Maybe there's down regulation of the receptors to an extent. There's a lot of stuff we really can't see. We really don't know because we can't see. So that's it. Yeah, sleep. I'll tell you what, on higher estrogen, I am in a considerably better mood. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, generally just really great. Like I'm fine at 20 to 30, but below that, yeah, I don't feel, I feel less happy. You know, I mean, that's because estrogen has a very, very direct relationship with serotonin and serotonin receptors, you know, so. Among other things, you know, Ryan Root brought up the COMT point, which is pretty important. That the higher estrogen you have, the more neurotransmitters you can keep around. But the lower estrogen you have, the more you're going to, you know, be upregulating clearance mechanisms for neurotransmitters. And so that's one of the reasons people feel shitty on low estradiol. For me, DHEA makes me an emotional mess. Well, you probably can tolerate it, but you either need to change the dose or continue taking it or raise your testosterone more than where you're at. Listen, I have found that there are ways to tolerate everything that you think you can't tolerate or that you currently can't tolerate regarding testosterone, HRT, TRT, etc. Yeah. I found there are ways to tolerate everything, boys. Yeah, me running as an example, just adding jogging 2 to 3 miles a day, usually in the heat. You know, first of all, drop my hematocrit from 49 to 40, high 48 to 42 or whatever the fuck it is now, very, very low, which is crazy because I'm on a lot of tests. But at the same time, like it made me tolerate higher doses of testosterone where there's no fucking problem. And I'm tolerating right now, at least, higher amounts of serum E2, no problem, you know. Whereas I would have like some mild neurological symptoms prior to that. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do to transform your body's response to things that now give you side effects. I do it over and over again in client work, and I've done it over and over again with myself. So I bet you could tolerate it. Bet you could. I bet if you started running every day, you would start tolerating it. Or, I don't know, I need to look at your labs. Like maybe the DHEA is converting more to estradiol than DHT, which it could, and that's causing you a problem. But also you have to look at why, you know, why you can't tolerate, in that case, high levels of estrogen. There's always a reason, brother. Always a reason. And I'm not just one of those YouTubers saying that. Believe me, there's always a way to tolerate what you probably might need better. Always a way. All right, Zachary is asking, can high testosterone levels with normal estrogen levels cause fatigue? It depends on what I would like you to do is, if you're on TRT, post your labs so that I can look at them, or just give me a figure. I mean, what are we talking about? 2,000 nanograms per deciliter with 30 E2? Because likely, if that's the case, yeah, likely. Estrogen should be a little higher in that case, usually for people, just for libido and well-being and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, you could run into you know, androgen-induced lethargy by having too much test and not enough estradiol. Look, estradiol rises commensurate with testosterone for protective reasons, typically. Obviously, there is a threshold where it becomes not good for you. And it's prothrombotic and all these other fucking things that we know. I mean, if you feed rats estradiol, they develop pituitary tumors. If you feed them enough estradiol, they develop tumors in their fucking hormone glands in their brain. So, you know, that's something. But for sure, like ultra high test and ultra low E2 can cause fatigue. No question. No question about it. No question. But, you know, you got to give me some numbers so I can actually kind of, you know, really qualify that. Bro has to get to the gym. Let's go. Best place to inject L-carnitine to restore sensitivity to genitals from PFS. L-carnitine is not going to restore your sensitivity to the genitals on PFS. So can't answer that question otherwise, but that's not going to do it. Jamie Vegas, is there a yet known compound that could increase SHBG from idiopathically suppressed levels below 15 nanomoles? Okay. I know guys with 7 or 8 SHBG and everything's fine. So, you know, I'm not saying that everything's fine with you, but your protocol, like maybe, I'll tell you what, if you have low SHBG, what people are going to tell you to do is pin more frequently. Okay. I've not seen that to be the case. I don't know where they're getting that from. I think it's like another Reddit theory that got perpetuated. To be perfectly honest with you, with lower SHBG, if you want to raise that SHBG, you'd be better off pinning less frequently. You'd be better off running a mil of test sip once a week. Yeah. Or 80 milligrams twice, every fourth day or something. Just time between injections is going to get that SHBG higher. You're pinning these short esters every fucking day, and you're never going to get that SHBG up. Yeah. What people are telling you on Reddit is wrong regarding that. So, I mean, if it's idiopathic, that may not work for you, but you might want to look at if you're on androgens, you might want to look at pinning a lot less frequently. You probably have a lot better time, or switch to a short acting ester. You're welcome, brother. All right, Dixie, looking good, thank you. If running test prop 40 milligrams every day, but 2 days a week taking 4.4 milliliters of Primobolan, on those Primo days, would you still take prop? So prop 5X or 7X? Yeah, I would. I mean, yes, I personally would. Because for me, with prop, I don't aromatize. I don't aromatize a lot. I mean, I aromatize. I gotta go really high doses to even push 50 picograms per milliliter of estradiol. So yeah, I would be, in order to not skew the ratio where you have too much test and not enough estrogen, in order to prevent crashing estrogen and having joint pain and depression and all these things that come with that, then I would still take the test. Yeah. I mean, you're running, so what is that? Primo is normally 100 milligrams per milliliter, right? So you're running 40 milligrams of Primo 2 days a week, so 80 milligrams a week, if I'm correct, right? Yeah. I mean, I think keep taking the test prop in that case. I would if I were you. I definitely would if I were you. Seek 11. If someone doesn't do well on test only, what's your opinion on low test and higher DHEA masteron? Lower test and with DHEA and masteron along with it. I don't think I've ever worked with anyone who's done that. So I couldn't advise you. Maybe other people who are in this space have, and they could potentially advise you on that, but I can't advise you on that. What I can say is that I'm going to always go back to, like, why aren't you responding to test only? Because you should be able to respond to test only, and you've got to find a way. What's your side effects? What's your side effects? I bet you can clear those up. You can figure out how to clear those up. There's always a way to clear that up. There's always going to be a way to clear that up. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, me starting doing hard cardio and sweating outside, I couldn't pin a mil of test sip, in my TRT tenure. I just never wanted to. I tried it before. It just didn't feel great. I had to pin a mil because I traveled earlier this week. So an entire 200 milligrams of Cypionate, just one injection. And I feel great. I feel fine. I wouldn't be able to tolerate that previously. And I don't really know the mechanism for that. I don't. I mean, there's a lot of cardiovascular changes that happen when you run. I had long COVID for a year and a half. I had some wacky fucking symptoms that, gradually declined, and I got a hold of it. But yeah, we know that shit fucks with your vascular system. So maybe that's why. But there's always a way to respond to test. Interestingly, here's something crazy. So I've seen people that, when they take 50 milligrams of test sip or anything every other day, which ultimately is a pretty high dose of test, they have all manner of side effects. All manner of side effects. And they're like, oh, I can't run 182 or whatever that is, or 190, 200 milligrams of test sip a week. But if they, take 4 or 5 days off, and then they pin an entire 200 milligrams of test sip just all at once, then they don't have the side effects that they were having on the same dose, but doing it every other day. They don't have the side effects. It's almost like the esterified testosterone is doing what it's supposed to do and just releasing a little bit each day, right? But not to the extent that it would when you're pinning 50 milligrams every other day. It's paradoxical, and it seems like it would make no sense, right? But I've seen it somewhat of enough times to be able to reference that in my brain and tell you that in this response to this question. Yeah. That, some people are like people that have a lot of side effects on frequent injections. Some of them do much better if they just give it a couple days, let some tests get out of the system, and then start pinning a mill at once a week. honestly. All right, androgen cap. What happens if you combine Proviron and HCG together with no T injection? Well, I mean, you'd probably be relatively fine. I've seen that done before because the HCG will help to an extent. You make some estrogen. Proviron only is it depends on what you need, right? There are some guys that need not a lot of estrogen intervention because they've maybe had high estradiol or a skewed ratio for a very long time, so they kind of need to keep that lowish. And they just need, they need a high androgen load, which 25 milligrams Proviron is a pretty high androgen. It's not significantly high, but high enough. And they end up doing fine. Serious sexual dysfunction people, I've got running somewhat of a similar protocol. Yeah. Right. But if that ultimately doesn't end up working the way we want it, it's probably because they need to aromatize a little more. They need a little more aromatization. But ultimately, test and Proviron, they don't do the same thing, obviously. I mean, test is very anabolic. Proviron really, it's mildly anabolic, but not substantially. There are other energy benefits and nitric oxide benefits that come from tests, test, and its conversion to DHT that, you would want. So, yeah. See how you fare. Jammer, have I ever tried 12.5 milligrams Proviron? Yeah, I have. Yep. For a stint on cream and Proviron, I ran 12.5. 25 was better, but 12.5 was okay. The difference between 12.5 on 2 pumps of cream, because that's what I was running at the time, and 25 of Proviron was libido. Yeah, libido was fine. If I'm around a woman, cool. And we're cuddling or I'm giving her a massage, I'm definitely interested. But I'm not interrupted to watch porn and jerk off in the middle of the fucking day. Whereas 25 plus 25 milligrams Proviron, in addition to test, then I am like that. Yeah, that's the big difference. That's the difference in libido. It's on TRT, you can have it where you have none of that. You have no libido, no morning wood, no nothing, and there you have a fucking problem with your protocol for sure. That's gotta be. If it's a ratio skewed, something's wrong. Then the next step up is you don't really notice. You may not have morning wood, or you don't have spontaneous erections. You may not notice your libido is out of control, or that you're even thinking about sex. But then when you're in bed with a beautiful naked woman, then suddenly everything turns on. So there's that second echelon. And then the third echelon is you are interrupted throughout your day by your libido, and you need to climax or, call a girl that you're dating or whatever. You need to. I like being in that last category, that latter category, because for me, I want to know, because I had serious sexual dysfunction in my early 30s. I want to know that the system's working good. So every protocol, I try my hardest to get it to the point where I'm just horny a lot of the time. Not all day, every day, but every day at certain periods, I'm just sensationally horny. And that's where you want to be. You can do that. You can do that. It just takes manipulation of the system. It in some cases takes stopping reading the bullshit on Reddit regarding TRT. I got to tell you, if any forum was meant to kind of castrate you in terms of sexual function on testosterone, it's Reddit. They give the worst fucking advice. Pinning sip every day, the worst fucking advice, man. So there's that. Dave L, do you have any clients on TRT and fast with supposedly no side effects? No, I have though. Yeah, I have had some. I think I've had 2. Yep, guys that were on finasteride, and one of them came to me because they were on finasteride and were worried about sexual dysfunction. Yeah, and they ultimately ended up having. Did I say that right? Did I Alzheimer's that? They ultimately ended up having some degree of side effects, which we had to work hard to start to reverse. It was really just about DHT lowering too much. And so, yeah, it's possible. I think some people are actually resilient to the lowering of DHT too. So you'll notice they get some hair regrowth, but it's not significant. They get a degree of stoppage of the hair loss, but it's not significant. It's just their DHT isn't crashing. So they can tolerate finasteride fine, Yeah. There's the SRD51, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a gene that encodes 5-alpha reductase that may be more resilient to the inhibition of 5-alpha reductase, because that gene's functioning really well, and you're just continuing to shuttle out or encode 5-AR enzymes. So yeah, it's just different between people, but the reported side effect rate is some crazy number, 3%. In my experience, this is an estimation. It's more like 10 to 15%, 15 on the high end, but it's way higher than is reported, no question, from finasteride. So be fucking careful. If you lose your sexual function, well, life's going to suck for a considerable period of time until you can fix it. And you might have to run some hardcore protocols to fix it. Ryan Parsons, thanks for the super chat, brother. Fellow vet, awesome. What service, what branch, what was your MOS if you were in the Army? Should I worry about the potency of generic brands of test? I wouldn't. No, I've been getting both as of lately. Nope. I mean, I personally never seen it to be a problem. The only person that I know of that has regarded that as a problem is the bro scientist. Isn't that a funny name? Is this blonde haired dude who's actually a cool guy and is pretty smart relative to androgens and TRT and anabolics and stuff in general, who it has a YouTube channel called The Bro Scientist and posts or used to post a lot on the testosterone subreddit, where he explained that like the differences between manufacturers or brands of tests were different, you know, for him. I've not seen that to be the case, and I've injected test sip from all manner of manufacturers, prop from UGL and from Defy, meaning Empower. So like I haven't really noticed a difference between them, but I've gotten good quality UGL, so I think that's important too. All right, Physique 11, something I experienced. I feel so much better with a regular every 5-day or even once a week test injection compared to microdosing. Absolutely. 250 every 5 days, for example. Is that your protocol? Because that's a pretty good protocol. That's an epic protocol. Yeah, because one of the things that happens is test will drop. Well, obviously, both test and estrogen will drop, but in the drop, there are other hormonal fluctuations, whether it is cortisol, I don't know, potentially aldosterone. There's neurotransmitter changes that all contribute to that shitty feeling when you're dropping, you know. But if you're running every 5th day, you probably stave off a little bit, you know, a little bit of that drop. Like you'll not have a significant enough amount of a trough where you feel fucked up and you know shit starts to go a little haywire and your body's like, oh no, I'm losing all my testosterone that I just had. Yeah, 250. I mean, people on Reddit will shame you for that. I'll tell you, if it works, keep it. 250. But the point here is that this guy experienced sides on frequent injections of a long ester. Many of my clients do too. They come to me after watching videos of me talking about stop doing that. Stop pinning sip every day. Stop. You know, no, it was not made for that. No one thinks that's good. There are a couple clinics prescribing it and they're ran by fucking idiots. The moment they take the same dose, again, my example before, 50 milligrams every other day was causing a guy all manner of side effects. He's like, I can't tolerate 180, 190 milligrams test, whatever that was. I got him to pin a mil once a week, a couple days off, just let some tests filter out, let things kind of normalize a little bit. 200 milligrams at once, everything, problems resolved, right? And if you're pinning 50 milligrams every other day and you're having side effects, you would think that will never happen. I would never be able to pin 200 milligrams at once and not have side effects. But you do, because it's different. SHBG is different. The way you transport androgens is different. Microinjections versus infrequent injections. You know, you'll regulate via, I mean, the ester, you know, the distribution of testosterone from the depot and into the blood, and, you know, and the conversion of binding to receptors and activating receptors. It's just different. What you're trying to do when people are trying to do when they micro inject is, well, they're trying to reduce side effects that they should be able, they should try reducing by getting a better lifestyle. You get a better lifestyle, you start doing cardio specifically, the side effects are largely going to go away. Yeah. Because if they're blood pressure related, that's all going to go away. Again, me doing cardio now, again, running again, you can't get my BP over 110 over 70. I can't even fucking do it. You know, I need sodium chloride tablets when I run, because then I have low BP, you know, issues. So yeah, I mean, that was a long-winded way of saying I see this a lot, which is why I, not for everybody, suggest don't micro inject long esters, because some people it seems to be fine for, but a good degree of other people it's not fine for, man. You know, like, yeah. So many people having problems with pinning every day and all this shit, they can't get the libido straight. Pin a mill once a week and thank me later. Suffer through side effects if you have them initially. Figure out how to deal with the side effects by getting your body healthier and stopping drinking or smoking or doing whatever. And pinning a mill once a week is going to make you feel better. You're gonna fucking wake up with morning wood the next day, guaranteed, dude. Or within the next couple days, or within 3-4 weeks of continuously doing that, your morning wood's going to come back. Your fucking desire for sex is going to come back. That brain libido feeling is going to come back. You're going to be strong as fuck in the gym. Yeah, stop with the micro injections. I'm glad you said this because you are not a minority, bro. You're actually the majority in my opinion. Sip G is on 30 milligrams propionate daily, 25 milligrams per vial. Interesting. Give me red spots all over my upper body. Test shows high C-reactive protein. That's not good. Where's the oil? Could be the oil in the test cause the spots. Maybe. Yeah, is that UGL prop? Because that would do it. Yep. Maybe you're having a negative response to the propionic acid that's in testosterone propionate. I don't know. That's a hard one, man. I mean, I couldn't see it being low estrogen. I mean, on prop, you aromatize less generally. I do. Most people do. And then proviron, which is kind of lowering the estrogen too, might be causing problem. But CRP being up is as unusual for this situation unless you have some wacky UGL test prop, in which case you need to stop taking it right away and just pin a millisip or something. Trey, don't have blood work, but I've taken 500 milligrams calcium D-glucarate on 2 separate occasions now, and it makes you feel like garbage. Perhaps my E2 is fine. Yeah, I don't think you're on TRT, right? I wouldn't suggest calcium D-glucarate for naturals because it will. The thing is, it also indiscriminately lowers all other hormones too. Anything that can be glucuronidated, it will lower. Yeah, to an extent. And if you're on exogenous tests, it doesn't matter. People are like, oh no, does that mean my test isn't? No, not at all. Yeah, because I run calcium D-glucarate pretty frequently, and it doesn't. I mean, I'm still anabolic, and everything's great as far as test goes. So it doesn't lower that substantially. It just knocks the estrogen down a little bit. But if you're a natural and you're taking calcium D-glucarate, you're clearing a bunch of hormones that you probably need. Yeah, I wouldn't do that if I was natural. Definitely wouldn't. Awesome, brother. Did you guys see Hulkster on the Trump on the RNC convention? Dude, the Hulkster said brother 17 fucking times. It was great, dude. I loved it. He's like, he just got up there and was the Hulkster for a while. It was Hulk, brother. Yeah, it was fucking great, dude. It was great. All right, Vibez is saying, I've had the exact same experience. When I pinned 125 milligrams all on Sunday, it gave me morning wood by Thursday, but EOD dosing, no wood. I'm just going to sit here like I told you guys so. Just going to sit here for a while and just with that I told you so look. Yeah. Like when someone tries to pass you and they get stuck at the red light and the Kermit meme out the window. It's like, fucking told you. Told you guys, man. I got years of experience with this shit. Yeah. Years, bro. Pinning long esters daily. If you're doing it and you're not dialed in, start pinning boluses. Suffer through the side effects. Your body will adjust. If it doesn't, you need to get healthier and then your body will tolerate it. That's the order of operations, brother. Order of operations. I love this. 125 at once. If that dose worked for you, fucking wonderful. Wonderful. You know, you're not going to aromatize a ton, which may be good for you. It depends on the person, but I think this is great. I think this is really, really great. And then, yeah, you get your wood back. You get your libido back. You get the brain part of desire for women back. You know, again, I had to take a trip. Like my libido is always pretty good. I mean, that has to do with dopamine and other things as well. But as long as I can get the ratio good and estrogen's not out of my range or below my range, I'm generally pretty good. There's different levels of that. Again, there's wanting to jerk off in the middle of the fucking day, libido, and then there's I don't care, but if I'm around a beautiful woman, I'd love to have sex with her kind of thing. But you know, pinning 200 milligrams a sip on Monday because I was traveling, man, my libido's sky fucking high, dude. Sky higher than it would ever be like on micro injections of sip, which I have run before. That's, you know, what really tipped me off in addition to client work, that it just wasn't effective or just fuck people's protocols up. But I love this. If people have problems on long esters with frequent pinning, pin less frequently. Forget everything you've heard. Oh, it's going to make the estrogen go up. Yeah, but then it's going to go down. Your test is going to go up too. You might end up in a sweet spot ratio. Forget what you've heard. forget it. Forget what you've read and do that. Ryan Parsons says Reddit is a dumpster fire for anything TRT. It's the blind leading the blind. Yep. That's the problem with Reddit, is it's the blind leading the blind. You know, it's people with zero experience with other people, meaning like managing their bloods or looking at their bloods and therefore making decisions on what they should do in their protocol. So like, think about how myopic that perspective is, right? Everybody there, no one there is a hormone consultant. No one. That's how myopic the perspective is. But somebody who's seen every different ester, every different administration frequency, bloods to match, corresponding symptoms, not symptoms, libido and erection quality wise, in 2,500 men, you know how big the perspective is? Like this. It's like this. You've seen everything. You know what to do in what situation. It's like that. You're getting advice from Reddit. You're getting perspectives like that. That's the problem. All right, Vibez. Almost all anecdotal stuff you have talked about on this channel is exactly my experience. Better erections on bullets, dose of long esters, DHEA plus E2 needs to be around 20. Interesting. Oh yeah, I mean, lower E2 to an extent, like, yeah, unless it goes below your threshold, because that's going to be different. I was just thinking of a number, but that's just different for guys. Then, yeah, you're going to be great. If it goes below that, the erections suffer, largely because libido suffers, you know. Having a very high libido usually will give you better erections, but yeah. What I've done on this channel is taken everything I've learned in myself and clients regarding TRT, and I don't know, man. There was like a 6-month period where I was starting to realize like everything that people are saying is wrong. I don't know if I just ended up with a group of people that needed different protocols, but I started realizing like I thought I was in the Matrix for a couple months there. I'm like, are these people lying on purpose? Like, all the stuff is wrong. Everything on Reddit is like wrong. You'll have some refreshing logic come in there every now and then. You got a guy that's like, what are you guys all like? I pin a mill once a week and I'm great. You know, some side effects initially, they went away. You get that. But mostly it's like all the TRT, whatever, it's like wrong. So I set out to, because there are content creators doing content on TRT and they're doing all this new agey shit. And it's fucking people up. And they're repeating all this new agey shit and it's fucking people up. So I was like, all this mainstream stuff that I found to be like largely not applicable and harmful to people's libidos and whatever, why don't I just talk about all the shit I know works? People are responding very well to that, seemingly. So I'm going to keep doing it, bro. All right, Zayed, when reconstituting C-Lank and C-Max, can I use drops intranasally directly from syringe instead of using nasal spray? No, I don't know, but I would not do that. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I don't know, but I wouldn't do that. D-Tree, why is pinning test sip daily bad? I do that and I get okay results in different, not crazy horny, but definitely sufficient. Yeah, I bet it could be better if you pinned less frequently. So that's one reason. It's not necessarily bad, but it's about what results do you want. Here's the thing. The point I'm trying to make usually with this is people getting sides on pinning long esters like once a week. Those sides are removable if you make your body healthier. That's number one, right? So what people do is they pin more frequently to get less spikes and everything, to avoid the side effects that they are getting because they're not as healthy as they could be, which I understand, you know, because if you're getting intolerable side effects from high doses of sip at once or something, that doesn't fucking feel good, you know? That doesn't feel good. But, you know, you need to start doing cardio and eating better and stopping drinking and doing all these other things. It actually really does fucking matter, especially cardio. And then you'll have a lot better time. So that's one thing. But the overwhelming majority of frequent sip injectors have shitty libido and no morning wood and no boners. And it's like their dick is going soft during sex and all this fucked up shit. The majority of them that come to me, at least, yeah, are having that problem. There is a subset of individuals that pin every day and are fine. They pin every day and they're fine. But I've seen disproportionately the other scenario be the case, where daily pinning of sip is causing them a muting of their sexual function and side effects too. And it actually ends up doubling their estrogen, like in some cases. You know, I had a guy switch from IM once a week to sub Q every day, doubled his fucking E2. What's that about? Everybody on Reddit will tell you that he's lying, that's impossible. Blood work shows it real clearly, dude. You know, back to once a week and everything was great. So, again, there are levels to libido. So the second part of your question, there's nothing, no morning wood, no libido, limp during sex. Then there's, you're good during sex, but only during sex. You don't think about it otherwise. But if you're around a beautiful woman naked, then you want to fuck her and everything's great. And then there's, you get interrupted throughout the day to watch porn and jerk off, and you need to do it twice a day. And you also, the next day, want to see a girl that you're dating or whatever, because you're very, very horny. You could get that latter horny, which not everyone wants. I like it. Probably by pinning more at once and not so frequently. You know, you're 250 here, either split that up into, you know, every 8 or 9 days or so, or run 250 at once. And your libido will probably be fucking crazy. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what that's, I can't tell you what that's doing. That's a weird one. Yeah. This guy's got C-reactive protein over range from pinning prop and taking proviron. Is your proviron legitimate? Yeah, I mean, maybe MCT is just causing you to have this issue. I don't know. 0 PIP. If you pin sub Q, you might get PIP. But prop should give you PIP. That might be an indicator that your prop is... It's probably prop, but there's something wrong with it, man. That sounds like UGL. If it's MCT prop, that sounds like UGL, and that's probably what's happening. Look, if you're pinning a UGL compound and your C-reactive protein is high, I want to look at that compound. Physique. My size on everyday test E injection was mood was trash. Interesting. I wonder why. You know, I wonder why specifically. But I've seen that. Well, I've seen both cases. What people end up doing is reading the gospel on Reddit, and then they pin every day, sip, and then their mood is better. Like they physically feel better, but their sex drive and their dick just fucking goes to Mars. That's what I see happening. And that's because they can't tolerate like higher doses at once of, you know, sip, because they're a little unhealthy, right? A little unhealthy, and they need to fix that, and then they can tolerate a lot higher doses of sip. But the mood ends up being better because you're just very stable. So stable, in fact, that it's like you really only get the anabolic benefits from tests at that point. That's it. You're not getting the androgenic benefits, you know? No boners, no sex drive, no none of that stuff. All right, Vibez says, you were one of the few, if not only, TRT channels that stresses the importance of 2M, 2 needs to be at 2025. Anything normal, I lose libido and EQ. Oh, anything more and I lose libido and EQ. I know how those guys tolerate 30 plus. Yeah. Well, it's also about ratios too. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I've just seen that over and over again, that if you can get either the dose low enough where they fall in that range, or if you can get the AI straight, which is hard, where they fall in that range, or if they can daily dose some calcium D-glucarate and a little bit of zinc. A little bit of zinc is good as an AI. It actually is for reducing estrogen. Too much zinc and it becomes a 5-AR inhibitor. You got to be really fucking careful with zinc. But there's a large subset of guys that need to be 20-25, and then the boners are insane. The libido isn't as powerful, but that's fine. They can tolerate that. Then I have guys that, you know, need to be between 45 and 55 of estrogen, and that's the only way they get libido. And that in turn gives them better erections. So it is different between people, but that subset of people is more than people think. They need to be at 20-25 based on their ratios, you know? Yeah. Like you could probably tolerate 45 and you might have better libido, or even 60, not above 60, maybe 70. I wouldn't push 80. If you had higher test. Now, if you could somehow figure out how to get higher test and then get that estrogen up to 60, like you'd probably tolerate that. And then you'd be horny all the time. Like, again, all the guys running, you know, a millisip are horny all the time. A millisip at once. Okay. Is there any way of using SSRIs for cognitive enhancement, or is that something for better for I don't give a fuck emotional numbness? Vigorous Steve seems to think so. I mean, the one thing that serotonergic drugs may do is induce neurogenesis, which is good. You can do that with other things, you know, and not serotonin drugs that may have additional other side effects, including sexual side effects. So there's that. But let's see. I mean, I don't know. I have PSSD patients, clients. I don't call them patients. I'm not a doctor. All the time, and they're just serious sexual dysfunction from going on sertraline, citalopram, you name it, right? So if you want to run that risk, unless you really control your hormone levels with exogenous hormones specifically, you can manipulate them. I really wouldn't do that. The people that are talking about this is good for them always control their stuff, and they're very versed at doing so, like Vigorous Steve, right? He's about as versed as anyone can get, on his own body, obviously. But this stuff in general, so he can run an SSRI and just get benefits. And if there are sexual sides, he can modulate this or that, take some DHT, whatever. So you got to know a lot to be able to tolerate that sort of stuff. Hey, Ryan, how can I raise blood pressure? Also a runner. Yeah, good question. The one thing that's helped me significantly is sodium chloride tablets. If you can get, I think it's Nutricose, something like that. It's like it's a blue and like an orange label. White bottle it's 900 milligrams of sodium in this tablet. And before my runs, before the gym, I have like a half of that, so it's like about 500 milligrams of sodium. And then before my run, I have another half, and then after the run, another half. So that's 1500 milligrams roughly of sodium, just so that I can go and sweat and do some runs. Like, dude, running drastically changes your physiology. Drastically. I mean, it's actually more pronounced than I thought. Like, I wasn't measuring my bloods when I ran back in the day as much, so I didn't know how much it fucking changed it. But I do have bloods from back then, and my hematocrit was like 40. I wasn't on test back then, but I did have relatively high test after I got a hold of it. So there's that. But yeah, sodium tablets. Gatorade is going to do nothing. Yeah, Gatorade is like 230 milligrams of sodium. It's like negligible, honestly. Yeah, I just don't get how people think Gatorade, but that's whatever. I mean, most people are running like a 1,000 milligram sodium tablet would send them in the hypertensive crisis or something. Whereas for you and me, because our blood pressure is dramatically different and lower and healthier, we need sodium. I had a cheat day 4 or 5 days ago. Big cheesesteak. Average cheesesteak is like 2,900 milligrams of sodium. I felt nothing but incredible. Incredible, right? Incredible. Because I run and burn sodium, and so do you. So honestly, get some sodium chloride tablets. Yeah, get some sodium chloride tablets, chew them up, throw it down with water, and you're going to be in a great place, I imagine. You'll help that situation. I understand your pain because, now running again, and even previously when I ran, I can't get my BP up above 110/70, and my raise after meals or whatever, it goes to 126/79. Like, what's that? That's not high, but ultimately then back down to low ultimately. Yeah. And if you're not used to it, like, it can feel like you have low blood pressure, it can feel bad until your body gets used to it. But if you never get used to it, just make sure you get the sodium. Liberally salt everything and get some sodium chloride tablets. They're going to help you the most. Not even salting your shit is going to necessarily help if the BP is just too low from how much you run. Yeah. If people are in that state, and I don't assume many people are in that state, but DJ, you may want to like go YouTube sodium intake for athletes. And there are a bunch of videos of athletes or coaches talking about just how much salt their people need. And it's fucking astronomical. I mean, 3, 4, 5 grams of sodium a day. More on triathlons, obviously. All right, so I got a question about DHEA. Should you cycle it? It was natural. People's natural response to DHEA is going to be different than people's response to DHEA on TRT. So the best thing you can do is take it, see how you fare, see what happens to libido and erection, see what happens to your hair, your body hair, facial hair, head hair. See how you physically feel and go from there. Decide if you're going to take it, cycle it, not take it, all that stuff. What are the best non-suppressive DHT derivatives for untested athletes? For sprinting? Not sure what your question is there. I don't really understand your question. I mean, Proviron is not very suppressive. It will be past a certain point, but it's pretty good at not suppressing the system. Yeah. That's what I would suggest. All right. Do you find you can run cumulatively, higher cumulative doses on prop without controlling estrogen? Yep. 100%. 100%. I actually find that my estrogen doesn't go high enough on prop. sometimes. If the dose is too high, prop peaks like this. It doesn't, if you look at how longer esters peak, they just go like this. Well, they go, just trying to actually picture the steroid plotter thing. They kind of go like that. And then you get your drop off, and then they go like that. Prop goes like this. Literally, prop goes like this in terms of the test peak. So that test peak with estrogen that doesn't commensurately come up, which is what happens on prop, you could fuck your ratios up and just not have enough estrogen. So like your dick will work great. You'll just have boner city, but you won't really have much of a libido. It'll be okay, but not much. So yeah. Rod Farva, I've been following your Proviron series. Very interesting stuff. I previously tried Proviron with test and HCG for PSSD, but didn't yield results. What was your protocol? How long were you on it? What were your labs? All this matters. Primo or master on next, or try Proviron again. PSSD is a difficult one. I mean, I would look at your prolactin, make sure it's not high. It's probably not, but if it is because it stayed high from all the serotonergic activity, then there's your problem. Usually, though, again, serotonin is prolactogenic, which inhibits 5-alpha reductase. It makes squash 5-AR after, and you've got to recover it with DHT or DHT derivatives. So that's a possibility, but you need the test. You need the estradiol in your range, which you have to find. This is what makes it so tricky. HEG, usually useful to keep testicles functional and to enhance sensation. How long were you on it, and what was your dose of everything? That matters. Were you micro-injecting versus not? People will have the wrong protocol on three compounds, and it won't work, and then they'll swear it off. You're on the wrong protocol. Bet you can make that work. I don't know what the protocol for you would be, because when I work with people, we adjust, we experiment, and we see what works and we see what doesn't, and not the same thing works for everybody. But generally speaking, I'd run like 30 milligrams of prop a day, 250 IU HCG every other day. I would run 25 milligrams per Proviron a day, and you'll probably have some resolution of your symptoms. Yeah, but that might take some time too. All right, DHEA, I guess I'm wondering what the mechanism for decreased sexual function on frequent sip pens. Constant aromatization. That's the mechanism. But also, there's many different mechanisms for this. There's constant aromatization, okay, which at the tissue level, we don't even know what's happening there. We can only see the serum. If you're sitting at 40, it doesn't really matter. Like the tissue is where you get estrogen binding to receptors and then genetic expression, which is what causes an effect or not an effect. Causes an effect. So that's one reason. Okay. The second reason is that for people that need a little bit higher estrogen for a libido, pinning every day may not give them enough of a peak. Okay. They may need a peak. I know guys that, again, these people that require just a bolus of sip at once and not doing microinjections, they require a peak of everything. They require both testosterone and estrogen to go like this, reach the peak, and then both to start doing this. Then their SHBG goes up a little bit. They start transporting androgens to tissues better via not constantly squashing their SHBG via daily sip. And they end up having a better time on TRT, specifically in terms of the sexual function. All right. So those are a couple mechanisms there. If you pin every day, your SHBG is not going to rise. It's going to stay lower, contrary to what people say. And having a little bit higher SHBG may be the fucking thing that gets your TRT protocol back. Because SHBG is not just binding to androgens and hormones. It takes them to tissues. It takes them to tissues. If you're constantly impairing the function of SHBG, which you're doing by microinjecting, you're going to get less delivery of androgens at tissues. That's another mechanism. So there's a lot of it, dude. But you seem to be like not trusting me, and I understand you want a mechanism. I mean, you can do what you want, bro. I've seen it. I see it all the fucking time, bro. All the time. All the time. So yeah. I mean, if you have sexual function issues on pinning, sip frequently, pin a mil a week, or pin 70 milligrams every fourth day. I bet that shit will resolve. I bet it will. All right, Tanner Wolf, trying to get my wife pregnant. Do you think I need to get off test 150 million? No, I don't think so. I think just keep trying to get her pregnant and go from there. But also look at her fertility. Yep, look at her fertility. Have her start taking DHEA. I forget the mechanism for this, but it's like God, what the fuck is it? It has to do with like sperm reaching the embryo or oh God, what is it? Egg creation? It's like, I forgot. I probably sound like an idiot right now. But anyway, when I was trying to get my ex pregnant, which thankfully I couldn't do. Thankfully we couldn't do. We didn't try for very long, but we couldn't do because she was very unhealthy and whatever. We were running DHEA and I learned the mechanism for that being useful. So if anything, I might have her start taking DHEA. Yeah. You know, if she drinks, tell her to stop. Tell her to fucking stop. That's why my ex couldn't get pregnant. We did everything. And again, it was a good thing because she was not right for me, but we did everything. And I'm a biohacker. I did every fucking thing, dude. You know, couldn't get her pregnant. She couldn't stop drinking. She's an alcoholic. That's why I ended up having to leave her. So, you know, if she drinks, tell her stop. If she smokes, well, obviously she probably doesn't smoke, but if she does, she's got to stop that. Any fucked up habits, she's got to stop that. Have her start taking DHEA. And she'll probably get pregnant. Yeah. I mean, if you're running 500 IU HCG, here's the other thing. That dose of HCG might reduce the number of LH-FSH receptors in the testicles. Yep. You know, people say like, oh, high dose HCG desensitizes you. Well, there are studies on it. And you have a reduced number of LH-FSH receptors in the testicles from chronic high dose HCG. It's cut and dry. So there is desensitization. It's not of the Leydig cells, it's of the receptors. So you might be doing yourself a disservice by that much HCG. Yeah. I would run that every other day, not every day. That'd be my suggestion, brother. All right, AB. So what I do is I kind of tilt my head upside down to where my nostrils are facing up, but it drops in there. Yeah, bro, I can't advise you on your taking a syringe and dropping C-Max into your nose. Doesn't make sense. I ran out of Shasandra, but I have some more coming in, 900 milligrams a day, and yes. All right, Trey, how much does zinc inhibit 5-AR? On some days, my diet gave me up to 60. Well, I think diet is different than supplementing zinc. I honestly think that. I do. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you personally, if I go above 50 milligrams, if I do 50 milligrams of zinc twice a day, 25 of zinc picolinate, too consistently, then my libido starts to downtick a little bit. And then I'm like, oh shit, I've inhibited 5-AR, you know, let me stop. That's definitely what it is. Cause I know the difference between inhibited 5-AR and too low estrogen. It's a different feel in terms of a lack of sexual function. So, you know, I don't know the dose. Yeah. For me, it's 50 milligrams too consistently, even on TRT where I'm aromatized, you know? So yeah, just something to consider. Whereas 15 to 25 milligrams of zinc a day only does benefits for my sexual system. But you're not on TRT too. So, I mean, you would probably be better with just 25 to 30 of zinc a day. Yeah. Zinc supplement a day. And that as a natural will help you probably a lot to make more testosterone. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Same can be said for BJJ people. This guy needs a lot of salt. So runners and people that are doing BJJ, you're sweating a lot. Yeah, you're going to need more salt, man. You're just going to need more salt. It's so crazy how much salt I can get away with administering. Whereas like before when I took 4 years off of running, I could just eat whatever. Like I wasn't crazy about it. I just eat the regular amount of sodium per day and not go crazy and whatever. Like too much sodium would probably give me little symptoms or whatever. Now I can get enough sodium. I can't get enough. And I love it. Crave it, love it. It's fun to be able to tolerate really good tasting foods too, you know? Yeah, it's fun to be able to tolerate a 16-inch cheesesteak with 3 grams of sodium. It's fun to be able to tolerate that, you know, or 5 pieces of a big New York style pizza. It's fun to be able to tolerate that. Those of us that are doing cardio a lot or sweating a lot while moving, we can tolerate a lot of salt, and it's kind of a great thing. It actually feels really fucking good. All right, Jordan G Unit, bro, have plenty of have a pretty great TRT protocol. Strength gain and libido are great. Awesome. Well, my energy can be better taking newts for years, but stop for tolerance. What else would you look at for resolution? Bloods, brother. What's the protocol? Why don't you put your protocol in the chat, man, so I can, better help you. Is your hematocrit high? If your hematocrit's high, that will cause some energy issues, usually if it's over range. Are you suppressing thyroid hormones, via testosterone to an extent, and that's fucking with you? I don't know what life is like on TRT without optimizing thyroid function. So if I didn't optimize it, maybe I'd have less energy. I take a bovine desiccated thyroid supplement every day from New Zealand, and it fucking profoundly helps my energy. So that might be one of the reasons, like my T3 and T4 are always in a really great range. TSH is good. I don't have any reverse T3 or T4 problems. So that could be something to consider, man. Are you donating blood a lot and your ferritin is low? Because that'll make you feel like shit. For sure, if it gets below 30 or something, then you'll feel terrible. You think of what else might be happening here. What do you drink? Do you smoke? What is your diet like? Those kind of things really matter. Yeah, those things matter a lot, bro. Is your estrogen too high? Is it too low? All that shit matters, man. You know, if you could get me your protocol, I could further help you, I think. Colonia Kava, I think the only person I know that's talked about that is the Booster Biology guy a long time ago. I can ask some God, what the fuck was it? Dopamine? I think it was either dopamine or testosterone that it was enhancing to some extent. Interesting. So if it's reducing hair loss, it's inhibiting 5-AR. Yeah. Or stopping DHT at the scalp. Yeah. Noopept or other nootropic for focus and brain boosts. Okay. All right. What about DHEA and Proviron for women? What I've been looking into some options for my wife for general well-being, libido, and body composition. Proviron would not be useful for a woman. That's going to masculinize her crazily and virilize her. She'll have a deeper voice and maybe grow some hair. That wouldn't be good. DHEA would be useful for a woman. Yep. A little bit of testosterone. Okay, so anecdotal time, story time. I know a girl at my gym, so she'll remain nameless, and she works out every day. She's there with me in the morning every day at 6 a.m. working out, and so she looks good. She looks like, for a girl, she looks like pretty buff or whatever, like just in shape. It's not crazy, but she's great. She's a great butt. She looks really good. But I befriended her like in the first couple months ago in the gym. We did 4th of July together a couple times here in Pittsburgh as like a tradition. She's just a cool chick, platonic, fully platonic. I would never have sex with her. She's not my type at all. She's very manly, right? So I'm not attracted to that. But she was complaining about a host of things, like some injuries and just how she's 45 and she was just like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. I don't, I can't really gain muscle. I'm just kind of maintaining and I kind of look a little subpar, whatever. So let's just say that I helped her to realize maybe she needs to take a little bit of testosterone. And I think she runs between 2.5 and 5 milligrams a day of test prop. 2.5 to 5 milligrams. For a woman, that's a great dose. The transformative action, the transformation in her face, her complexion, her happiness, her strength. Now she looks a little saucy. And she's on fucking microdosing tests. Her libido, she tells me, dude, because of this, now I need to find a boyfriend because I'm horny all the time. Told you, so a little bit of test goes a long way with girls. A little bit of, especially if they're past 40, a little bit of test goes a long way. Dietrich, I'll try 125 twice a week and see if there's a difference. Thanks for the advice. Yeah. I mean, if you're pinning every day and the libido is okay but not great, I wouldn't pin 125 twice a week if I were you. I'd start pinning like 70 twice a week. Yeah, 70 or 80 twice a week. And if that doesn't increase your libido, give it 4 or 5 days after your last 70 milligram dose, and then pin a milliliter at once. Pin 200 milligrams at once. Do that for 3 or 4 weeks, and I bet your libido is going to be crazy. Yeah. All right, Proviron's a little less suppressive than everything else. Still suppressive. Well, it's markedly less suppressive. At week 7 or 8, you might get some suppression, but like largely, it's not suppressive. It's not very suppressive. So. How for Proviron to onset or to feel it? How long? That day. Yeah, Proviron's pretty quick acting, but it might take you a week to start noticing the enhanced DHT feels and function, But I suppose it all depends on whether or not you're on TRT, which I think you are. So who knows? But relatively quickly, man. Relatively quickly. All right. So Jordan's protocol where strength gains are good, energy could be better, libido's fine, is 100 milligrams. Test sip. HG 1000. E2 stays at 30. I do take a very low dose of nandrolone. Interesting. 25 milligrams of oxandrolone daily. Wow. I inject B12 3 times a week. Okay. Maybe the oxandrolone is messing with something. Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen where oxandrolone specifically, in addition to a lot of tests, or like a pretty high dose of tests, like, you know, because some people are dosing fucking 100 milligrams of test a week, which is not a lot. Then they get lethargy. Might be the case that your E2 is too low. Yeah. I know that sounds crazy. But that'll happen to me if my test is very high and my estrogen is very low. I'll feel fatigued. If I get the estrogen back up, fatigue goes right away. So given the fact that you've got oxandrolone as well, you got 2 non-aromatizable androgens here. One that's actually counter to estradiol, which is Anavar. That is likely your problem. Yep. If you could get your your estrogen up to maybe 50, I bet you'd have significant energy. I bet that whole situation would change and you'd be fine. Yeah. That's what I would bet. Would happen. That's what I would do if I were you. And the only way to do that, I don't know what your frequency is on your test sip, but if it's once a week, then there's not much you can do, but like almost double your dose, or whatever. Like, I guess that's really it. I mean, you could take a lot of DHEA and that'll increase your estradiol too. Or if you're pinning every other day or something, just pin once a week. And maybe bump the test dose up to like 200 milligrams. And that's probably going to solve your problem, because then you're just aromatizing a little more. Again, it's not that people need to stay between 20 and 30. It all depends. Like people on TRT doses, which are usually they're dosing very low, they end up doing well there because it fits. It just ends up being in their ratio, but their test isn't very high. It's like 700, 800, If their test was 1500, they'd need 50 picograms per milliliter to not have side effects, to not get lethargy, to feel good, to have better libido and all that kind of stuff. So I would wager, unless the Anavar is causing some sort of fucking cardiac issue, which it probably isn't, or if it's raising your liver enzymes, which you say your bloods are good, so that doesn't seem to be the case. But if liver enzymes are up, you're going to feel fatigued for sure. If they're up long enough and the liver's suffering, you're going to feel fatigued, I should say. Then you just might need higher estrogen, man. And then you'll be in a better place, brother. Thank you, brother. Hope you guys are great. Did you guys watch the RNC? Did you watch Trump's speech? Anybody watch Trump's speech? Anybody see the Hulkster say brother 17 times? Fucking loved it. I don't know where you guys are politically, but the one thing is, like, after this thing happened with Trump, like, if you support Trump openly. Yeah, support him openly. People that support Trump were suppressed for too long. And it was actually one of the biggest travesties of all time. Like, those people were just shut down. You know what I mean? Like, just you couldn't wear a MAGA hat or support your person. After what happened, if you support Trump, support Trump. I wear, Trump gear to the gym. I don't care. If you want to look at me awkwardly, like, fuck off. With my right to vote, this is who I'm voting. Like, we have an election coming up. If you're voting for someone, like, rep your person. That's what we've always done. It only became divisive because the press made it divisive in the last 8 years. All right, Jordan G Unit. Hematocrit is really good or in range. No smoking. I take selenium for thyroid. That's all for thyroid, though. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the estrogen. I think the estrogen might need to be a little higher, bro. All right, Be in Shape is using a lot of Proviron, 75 milligrams daily for a few weeks. Think I'll be okay quitting cold turkey? I mean, sure, I think you'll be fine. There'll be some changes in your sexual function when you quit, probably. And, but I don't know, if you're feeling good right now, keep running it. I can't say. I don't know how you're feeling. Seems like you're doing okay. If you're not really complaining about anything, then I would keep running it if that's how you feel, bro. If everything's fine, fucking run it, bro. Run it, my brother. All right, thoughts on Sustanchin Tonga? It doesn't do a whole lot. You're on TRT already. You're already on 250 milligrams. Tonga may lower estradiol, may do something against HPG. I actually forget what it does, so not sure. Sustanch, optimizes Leydig cells to an extent, so that might help your response to HCG. It could. But it's also dopaminergic, and so that might help with libido. Yeah, to an extent. But you're on 250 milligrams test NSA. I don't know what PW means, but if you have libido problems, either the estrogen's too high or too low. Yep. Or you're pinning too frequently. One of those things. Or you need DHEA and pregnenolone in your regimen, and that will help. Dealing with PIP on prop, just suck it up now. Well, for me, because again, like I had to run a millisip this week because I was traveling and didn't want to bring all the prop with me, but generally 70 milligrams prop every other day, or 100 milligrams prop every third day, or 40 milligrams prop a day. If I'm running the higher doses at once of prop, honestly, I've got to inject half of it in one glute and the other half in the other glute. Yep. Or half of it in one delt and the other half in the other delt. That way the PIP is just like, it's there, but it's not bad. But if I'm pinning 70 milligrams every other day in one location, it does fucking hurt. It does hurt. So switch up, just pin half and half kind of thing. If you're doing prop, a lot of prop, but if you're doing anything below 30 milligrams, anything below 30 milligrams or 30 milligrams or below, then just pin in one location and you should be fine. But if you can ice it after, just throughout your day, maybe just ice it one or two times, that'll substantially reduce the PIP. And if you heat the vial up in water, so if you just pour some water, hot water, warm water in a cup, and then you let the vial sit in there for about 2 minutes before you inject, that'll help substantially. If when you draw your amount that you're injecting in the syringe, and you hopefully have something that closes the end of the syringe, the needle part of the syringe, and then you put the whole syringe with the needle in warm water for 2 minutes, that will also reduce PIP. Yeah, so those are options to do that. Dark Fitness recently discovered magnesium was dropping blood pressure too low, causing erection quality issues, strength loss. Thought I needed a high dose T3 because of what I read. Now it's taking 400 milligrams. Magnesium can reduce blood pressure to an extent, yeah, and that could fuck with erection quality. I mean, I know guys on blood pressure medication that have no boners because their blood pressure's too low. I mean, you need blood pressure for boners, right? Think about it, right? So it can't be too low. Can't be too low, boys. Can't be too low. All right, TDM, what would you choose between aromacin and an anastrozole? Which one's better? Subjective. Subjective. Yeah, I personally would choose Arimidex. Yeah, just because I like to be able to modify things quickly. I like to be able to change things in a day or two, or 2 days, 3 days. And also, like, if I overshoot on Arimidex specifically, everything will be back to normal in 2 days with some HCG dosing, extra HCG dosing to get some extra E2. Yeah. That's really kind of why I like Arimidex. Aromacin, if you fuck that up, you might, it might lose your libido for a week and a half. And that's not, if you're dating, that's a non-starter. That's a non-starter. I can't lose my libido for a while. I'm dating. Like, I'm pretty consistently dating. So yeah, I can't do that. That would suck. That would suck, bro. But, yeah, honestly, anastrozole is just easier to dial in. And if you find your dose that works well with your frequency, then you just ride off in the sunset. Some guys, it's 0.25 twice a week, but they've got high TRT doses and they're dosing it at once. If you're micro-injecting, don't take anastrozole. Like, it might fuck everything up. Your test isn't high enough and you don't have enough of a bolus to then aromatize over a week period, or microdose anastrozole if you're microdosing TRT, which I don't suggest anyway. Microdosing TRT, microdosing long esters, microdose prop and microdose cream ultimately, but I wouldn't be microdosing SIP. But yeah, I mean, I've had a better ability to dial in my Goldilocks zone and estrogen with anastrozole. But interestingly lately, because prop is what I've mostly been dosing, it's weird. The estrogen doesn't stick around, so I can tolerate higher doses and it's not an issue, but just a little bit of calcium glucarate and I'm right in my Goldilocks zone. So thank you, brother. All right, guys, I'm gonna end the stream. I got some stuff to do this morning. Great questions. A lot of content coming this week, so look forward to that. Trying to do a podcast with Mike from Balance My Hormones. If there are any YouTubers that you want me to do a podcast with, please reach out to them and reach out to me as well and connect us, because I'd love to fucking do it. I want to get more people on the channel here to do long talks, as you guys seem to appreciate those, especially people that are talking about anabolics and stuff. I'm in TRT, so that's great. Otherwise, anything else? Cortex Stack, buy one, get one free, probably for the remainder of the weekend. I've got 50 bottles left to move at buy one, get one free. That's a pretty great deal. Other specials are down in the description of this video. If you need to hire me for coaching on the bigger packages, like the one-on-ones, I've got 2 slots open. If you need TRT protocol optimization, I've got the endless slots open for that. It's a call and then full-on protocol design, livecortex.com. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And I'll talk to you guys early this week. Let's go. Boom. Happy weekend. Fucking rock on. Later.